Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Vayakhel-Pekudei. Today we're going to have two divrei Torah. The first one from the Arizal, Yitzchak Luria, 1534 to 1572, and the second one on Pikudei will be based on the words of the Bnei Yisrael Chacham Yosef of Baghdad, 1832 to 1909. So let's begin. In Parak Lamed Hey, pasuk Lamed, the pasuk says, "Vayomer Moshe al Bnei Yisrael." Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Jews, Ru'u, see, Kara Hashem b'Shem, Hashem proclaimed by name, Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur. Betzalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur. So the Arizal asks, what is the nature of the language Ru'u, see? What is the point of that? And the answer he gives is because when the Bnei Yisrael heard the news that the building of the Beis HaMikdash and doing the avoda there would bring about a kapara, an atonement for the sin of the Eigel Hazahav, of the golden and molten calf, they couldn't believe it. So it was hard for them to see, as it were, with their own eyes to understand how could this work. So in order to put their minds at ease, the Torah makes sure that they see who is the one who's appointed to lead this process. And it was none other than Betzalel, who was the son of Uri, the son of Hur. And who was Hur? Hur was the person who had been killed because he would not participate in the service of the idol worship of the Eigel Hazahav. And this is to manifest the point, to make it very visual, very clear to them that, because ein katega not sanegar, the prosecutor doesn't become a defense attorney. So if they hadn't been forgiven for the sin, which included the murder of Hur, then they would have been able to bring Betzalel, because Betzalel would have been a reminder, as it were, to Hashem that they had sinned. But since the building of the Mishkan brought about the atonement of the sin of the Eigel, so that was evident through the appointment of Betzalel, and now they could be at ease. They would see this point. Moving on into Pikudei, so it says in Parak Lamed Ches, pasuk Chaf Aleph, Eila Pikudei HaMishkan. These are the reckonings of the Mishkan, Mishkan HaEdus, the Tabernacle of Testimony, Shapukad al Pi Moshe, that were reckoned based on Moshe's bidding. And the question here says the Ben Ishai in one of his drashos is that we have a rule that if something is counted or measured, then that's going to take away from any blessing inherent in it. So why would they count the utensils in the Mishkan, how it was made in the building of the tabernacle, if that would potentially dilute the bracha of the Mishkan? So in order to answer this question, the Ben Ishai refers to the Gemara in Yuma, which tells you that in Hosea, in the prophet Hosea, Parak Beis, pasuk Aleph, we have a point that it says Vayimespar Bnei Yisrael. It was a count of Bnei Yisrael. At the same time, at the end of that very pasuk, it says Asher lo yimad v'lo yisafer, that may not be measured and not counted. So which one is it? Is it not counted or is it counted? First we said it's counted, and now we say it's not counted. So the Chacham answered that there's a distinction between something that's bidei shamayim and bidei adam. Something is from heaven and something is done by earth, by people. So here, it's something. Where is the problem? The problem that you might not have a bracha, that you detract from a blessing. That's when it's done by people. But something that's bidei shamayim, that's done from a heavenly basis, that there's no risk of getting dilution. And how do we understand this more specifically into the situation? We see it because from two aspects that show that the Mishkan was bidei shamayim and that you don't have to worry. The first aspect is because it says that the Mishkan below on the earthly one was connected to perhaps the higher level, both literally and figuratively, of the Mishkan that was in heaven, that was in Shemayim. And that the Iker was not this low earthly Mishkan, but it was more the heavenly Mishkan. And therefore, doing something for that heavenly Mishkan, there is no problem of worrying about a dilution from bracha. The second point is that Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who gave the instructions for this. And whatever Moshe said, unlike any other Navi, any other prophet, it was Hashem, because Hashem spoke through his throat. And the Shekhinah was in the Garon of Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, anything that came out of Moshe that he counted was something heavenly, and therefore there was no problem of having detraction on the blessing that will come to the Mishkan. And now we can go back to the pasukim and see how it plays into pasukim. Eigel Pekudei Mishkan. These are the reckonings of the Mishkan. If you have a question, how can you do something? How can you make a counting? Because that'll dilute it, because that'll detract from the bracha. The answer is first Mishkan Ha'edas, because this was a heavenly Mishkan, not just a earthly one, and therefore heavenly there's no problem. And similarly, it says Ashupukat Api Moshe, because it was Moshe who had the Shekhinah in his throat, so it was also heavenly, and then with heavenly there's no risk of the bracha. So we see from this about the Mishkan, that the Mishkan had the power, the heavenly Mishkan had the power of forgiveness. Thanks for listening, like, share, and subscribe.